Good afternoon.
Oh,
Today is May 7th, 2019, and we're with Arthur Krochmal. Could you spell your name for us?
Krochmal.
And what was your name at birth? What's on the birth certificate?
On the birth certificate it says Arthur.
Your Hebrew name?
Ang.
Were you ever known by any other names?
No.
Nicknames?
Nope.
For whom were you named?
My maternal grandfather.
When were you born?
September 18, 1933.
So how old are you now?
85.
Where were you born?
Vienna.
And what was the address of the house?
29 Kleine Pfarrgasse.
What area was that in Vienna?
I don't know.
Do you remember anything about Vienna?
Very little. I remember the Ferris wheel in the park where they used to take me.
Do you remember your house where you lived in Vienna?
That was good.
What did it look like?
Pardon?
How many rooms?
Oh, it was a small apartment, maybe 3 rooms or something.
Was there running water?
Yes, there was.
Electricity?
It was it was an apartment building.
Did your parents have any help in the house?
Actually, we lived in the same. My grandparents lived in the same house, and they had help, so we helped each other.
Who were the neighbors besides your grandparents?
Neighbors, I don't remember.
Were there any non-Jews in the building?
There must have been. Yeah, I imagine there must have been.
Did you ever sense any anti-Semitism or hear about any anti-Semitism?
Not in the building proper, but on the street. When the Germans came in, there were soldiers all over the place.
What about before that?
Before that, I don't remember.
Were there any times that you felt danger before the war, before the Germans came?
No.
Did your family have a radio?
No.
A phone?
No.
Were they in contact with any relatives in any other cities or towns?
We had relatives on the same block. I think in the house next door, I think we had relatives, cousins.
But what about out of town or out of the country? Do they have any relatives in other cities?
No. Well, yeah, my father had the relatives in Poland, but I don't know anything about them.
What was your formal education?
In Vienna? Through college.
Where did you go to college?
Where are you?
And what about before the war?
I just went to elementary school.
Where was that?
And, I started out, actually, yes. They started me when I was 3 years old, private lessons.
What were the lessons for? What did they teach you?
They taught me to read, had a Melamed, and few Melamed. They don't know how to read. And then when we came to Belgium, I went to Tachgemoni. There's a school there.
When did you leave Vienna?
In the end of 1938.
So what schooling, did you have any formal schooling until then?
In Vienna, no.
What languages do you speak?
In Vienna, we spoke German, Yiddish.
And now?
Now, we went. In Belgium, I learned Flemish. Then we went to France. I forgot Flemish. And then came to the States. I'm forgetting French.
How did your family spend vacation time while you were still in Vienna? Summers?
Yeah, we used to go to some kind of out suburb. I remember going on the train to a certain suburb. You'd say it's some kind of a vacation home, I don't know.
I'd like you to tell about your family, starting with your father. What was his name?
My father's name was Maya.
When
He
was
went. He was. He went to the. It's called the Salem Yeshiva. He came from Poland as a student, and he learned in Salem. And then we got married. We lived in Vienna.
Where was he born?
He was born in Sokol, Poland.
And where did he daven?
I don't remember.
Did your father have a beard?
No. He had a mustache, I think.
Was he planning to leave Poland before he got married? Did he have any plans to go?
I don't know. He came as a student. I don't know if he was forced to leave, or maybe he wanted to get out of the army. I don't know.
What work did he do?
After he got married, he had jobs as a upholsterer, I think. They opened up a little store there also, selling shirts, things like that.
Was he involved in the klal, in the community?
Yeah, he used to daven for the Ahmed. Yom Noraim, he used to daven.
Did he survive the war?
No. He was sent to Sobibor
When was that?
in March 1943.
Where was he at the time he was taken?
We were from France. We went from Vienna to Belgium, and from Belgium to France. And then the Germans came in. We tried to go to Spain, and we got caught on the Spanish side. And Spain gave us over back to France, and France gave us over back to the Germans. And my parents were in prison. I went to prison also, overnight. We were in a holding cell. Then they took me out from the prison to a Catholic girls' school. It was vacation time, so the school was out, and they took me to that school. And then...
We're going back to that.
Yeah.
We'd like to go to your mother. What was her name?
Mirla.
Her maiden name?
She went by two names. The name was Dunn, and some of the documents say Traub, because that was also my grandmother's name.
Where was your mother born?
In Przemyśl, Poland.
How much education did she have?
High school, I think.
Did she work outside the house?
She was a millinery.
Where did she learn to do this? How did she learn the skill?
I don't know.
Was she involved in any chesed?
Not that I know. Not.
Did she survive the war?
Yes, she did. She came to New York.
And what special memory do you have of your mother when you think of her?
What
A special memory do you have of your
special
mother?
memories? She did a lot of chesed work, and over here she did chesed work.
What was she involved with here?
I don't know any special things, but she did a lot of good things.
Did you have any siblings?
No.
Do you remember grandparents?
My mother's parents, my mother's mother, I remember.
Her name?
But she came to the States also. Her name was Leah Rothman. And they were together in France while I was hidden.
Do you have any special memories of time with your grandmother?
Yeah, sure. She was business lady.
What did you do?
She used to sell textiles.
Where was this?
Back in Vienna. She used to carry big bundles of textiles.
I'd like you to describe Shabbos in your home back in Vienna.
Shabbos was a regular the Jewish home, Jewish table.
What special foods?
I don't remember.
Did you have company? Did people come?
I'm sure yeah, we used to have company. We probably ate together with my grandparents.
Did the men sing Zmiros?
Sure.
Do you sing any of the same ones now?
Yeah.
Which?
Shabbos mirrors, yeah, definitely.
Can you sing one now?
Well, offhand I don't.
Do you remember Sukkot at home?
No.
Purim? Do you remember Purim at home?
Nope.
Pesach?
Pesach, yeah, Pesach I remember. Not in Vienna, but in Belgium I remember.
What do you remember about it?
And I used to steal the afikomen.
What did you get for that?
When did I get to?
No. What did you get for stealing it?
Oh, actually, yeah, we had a guest one time from London. They were pretty well off, and we had them for Pesach, and they bought me a bicycle, a tricycle.
While you were still young and in Europe, what did you think you'd be doing later in life?
I had no idea.
When were you first aware of Hitler and the Nazi Party? When did you first realize what was going to happen?
In Vienna, I was looking outside the window, and two soldiers came by with the step, practicing the goose step, and I burst out laughing because it was really funny. And they looked up and they saw me and they figured that I'm making fun of them. So they came into the house and wanted to beat me up. My mother shooed them away. I was really scared.
What uniform were they wearing?
Spick and span.
What color?
Like 10
Were they German?
uniforms.
They
German.
Austrian?
Yeah, I don't know, German or Austrian.
Did your parents hear anything about what was going on in Germany at the time?
No. I don't think so. I think at one point they were rounding up men and sent them to Dachau.
Do you remember Kristallnacht?
I heard a lot of noise, but I didn't know what was going on. But
Did you see any smoke?
no, I didn't. They didn't let me look out of the window. But I did hear a lot of noise.
Did you see anything out the window at any point?
No.
What about the next day?
But the adults were peeking out of the window, and from what they were saying, it looked very scary. Yeah.
When did life change for you?
Around that time, around 30, 38, at the Kristallnacht.
Did you hear any discussion with your parents or your grandparents then?
Yeah, they were talking a lot. I didn't know what was going on, but I knew that something was cooking.
Where was your father that night?
I don't know. I don't remember.
Did you see anybody being arrested?
No, not in Vienna. No.
Did anything change for you when the Germans came?
Yeah, yeah, sure. They used to. We had to black out the windows. Supposedly against air raids or something. That there shouldn't be any light coming out of the window. So we had. They had us put black paper on the windows.
That was in Vienna?
In Vienna, yeah.
What about davening? Was your father able to go to shul?
I remember one Friday night we went to shul, and there was nobody there. Everything was lit up, a lot of candles in the room, but nobody showed up.
What shul?
I don't remember. There was a Rav there.
Who was that?
I don't remember. He was a Rav in Vienna.
Did you see
Or
any?
Rebbe. I don't remember who it was, but I remember the room. It was spooky. All candles, no electric lights, just candles, all over the room. And we came in, and there was no minyan. There was nobody there, just a Rav. And we went back home.
This was after Kristallnacht.
I don't know when it was. But
Did you see damage after Kristallnacht?
No, I don't remember seeing anything.
Did you see any Nazis walking through besides those two original soldiers?
Yeah, they were all over.
Were there any new laws or rules?
I wasn't aware of anything. But we, after Kristallnacht, we left in the middle of the night.
How soon after?
It must have been soon after, because at the end, November 38, I think.
Was there any problem with Shrita until then?
I have no idea.
How did you leave?
We left, I think they rented a car. We went to the train station, and from the by train, I think we went to, I think it was Cologne in Germany. That was the border near Belgium. I remember we had to go through customs.
Was there any problem getting documents?
We had documents to get out, so they...
That was before this all happened? You always had documents? You were able to get them in a hurry?
I don't know how fast. I have a passport, so I still have that passport. So we got out in the middle of the night, and we went there, and we went through customs, and I remember they opened up the film to look, to see if we were hiding any diamonds or something inside. And I remember my mother gave me her rings to hold in my pocket, and they didn't look into my pocket. It was just, I knew enough to keep quiet.
Did any neighbors know you were leaving?
I don't think so.
What did you take? Were there suitcases? Was it obvious you were leaving?
There must have been there must have been some suitcases. Not too much.
Was there any relationship with non-Jews then? Any of the Goyim there?
I don't know.
So where did you go?
We went to Cologne, and from Cologne, I think they had a guide who sneaked us into Belgium.
That was walking?
Walking, yeah.
You still had the suitcases?
We had suitcases. I think so. And I think most of the way they carried me. And it was interesting. It was very dark at night, and to lead us, they hired somebody to smuggle us over the border, and he was smoking a cigarette, and he hid the cigarette inside the palm of his hand, so we just followed the light of his cigarette to see the way. So spooky. We just followed the railroad track at the time. It was icy, snowy, icy.
Were there plans
In fact, my mother slipped and broke her arm on the way.
How was that dealt with?
Well, she kept on walking, I think. And then we came to a fence, and they cut the fence, the wire or something. They cut through the fence, and there was a farmhouse on the other side. So then we snuck into the farmhouse, and that was Belgium.
Who had arranged for the guide?
I think my uncle was.
Was he paid?
Yeah, I'm not sure they would pay.
Did he leave you at the border, or he continued with you?
No, they left us. They left us in the farmhouse, and.
Was there anyone else in the farmhouse besides your family?
No.
Who was with you from the family?
My parents. My parents were there. My grandparents. My uncles. That's all.
Did you get any news while you were there?
No.
What were the provisions? Were there beds in this house? Was there food?
There must have been some food. There must have been beds. Yeah. I don't know how long we stayed there. Yeah.
Did you hear any discussion about what you should do next? Was there any talk?
No, I'm not aware of that.
And where did you go from there? How long did you stay?
From the border, we went to Antwerp.
How long were you in this farmhouse?
Maybe overnight, or maybe a day or two.
How did you know where to go?
I have no idea.
So how did you get to Antwerp?
I have no idea. I think I slept. I must have slept all the way.
And what did you find when you got to Antwerp?
In Antwerp, we had an apartment in Antwerp.
It was legal?
Yeah, I think so. It was just before the invasion, and my mother was in the hospital because she had broken her arm, so they took her to the hospital. And I stayed with my grandparents.
Did you see anybody, like guards or police, soldiers?
In Antwerp? No. Not till the war.
Was there any news about the war?
I wasn't aware of anything, but when the war came to Belgium, there was a lot of noise. Yeah.
What do you remember about that?
Yeah, the plane. I remember the plane flying, and they had this like lights lit up the sky to find the plane. And then
do you know what kind of plane it was? Was it
a small plane?
It was from Belgium or from the Nazis?
I have no idea, but there was activity, there was shooting and stuff like that.
Did you see any Germans at that point?
When they came in, yeah. After they came in, we left. When they came in, we left. We tried to go into France. A lot of people were marching along. I remember being in Dunkirk when the British left, Everything was mined. And they led us through the minefields. uh, yeah, there was a lot of shooting and stuff. Every time there was shooting, they told us to lie down.
How long were you in Belgium?
About a year.
What did you do in that time?
I went to school,
What school?
Krochmal. That's where I started school officially.
How did your parents support themselves there?
I have no idea.
Did anyone ask questions? Stop you?
I just went to school. I have no idea. It was nice. There was a big shul there. There was a chazan. It was beautiful.
And how did you get to France?
Well, at that point, after Dunkirk, we went back to Antwerp. Everybody else went back to Antwerp
Why?
because they wouldn't let us into France. And then we tried again, and the second time we succeeded. And we hopped on the train someplace.
Did anyone question you or
Excuse me.
ask for ID or anything when you were on the train?
No, we just it was a mass exodus. Everybody, it was free for all. Just jumped on trains and stuff like that. It just lifted me up and whisked me up to the platform.
Were you afraid?
Was I afraid? I didn't have time to be afraid.
So where did you go in France?
In France, we first went to Paris. We stayed in Paris for quite a while. Then, when the Germans were coming to Paris, we went to southern France. We stayed in Nice. Went to school there.
How long were you in Paris?
Must have been a few months. I don't know.
Did you go to school there?
No.
Did you hear any discussion then about what was happening with the war?
Yeah, there was a lot of discussion. I wasn't. I didn't understand anything. But then we went to southern France, Nice, Marseille, back to Nice.
How did you pick up the languages as you went?
I have no idea. Just picked it up. When I started school in France, within a few months, I forgot Flemish altogether.
So where did you go from Nice?
Nice, when the Germans came into Nice, we went to, there's a small town, first we went to Marseille, and we tried to come to America, but we weren't successful on that. So we were hiding in some little town, Luchon, this was called, Luchon, on the border of the Pyrenees. And then we tried to smuggle into Spain.
How'd you get there?
To Spain?
You walked through the mountains?
We walked through the mountain, at night. It was a nice walk, actually.
When was it? What kind of weather?
It was icy. There was snow there. Snow, ice.
Besides your family, were there other people going?
Yeah,
this
there were
route?
other people going, right. Yeah, there were quite a
Were
lot
they
of people.
Jewish?
I imagine, yeah.
Were you getting news? Were you aware of what was going on in the rest of Europe at that time?
No. But we tried to get into Spain, and we got caught.
So who caught you?
Spanish patrol. As we were going on the highway, we slid down the mountain. We sat down and it was icy. We just slid down to the highway. And then we started walking on the highway and came patrol with a lot of other people who got caught. And they marched us off to someplace. And then a lot of people escaped. They had bicycles and stuff, and they were able to escape. But my grandmother was not so sporty, so we stayed and we got caught. And that started a series of events.
So what happened when you were taken back to the border?
Well, Spain gave us over to France. France gave us over to the Germans.
How long were you in France until you were given over?
What?
How long was this transfer?
Oh, maybe overnight, I think. Maybe a day, and 2 days. And,
Did your parents try bribing them? Was there any discussion, pleading with them?
I'm not aware of anything. Well, they didn't bargain. Once the Germans marched us, we just had to walk.
Were you afraid then?
Yeah, sure. I didn't know how bad it was, but I knew it wasn't good. So then we stayed in prison, and then I...
What kind of prison was it?
It was a police station, a holding cell.
Where was this?
In Saint-Gaudens.
Were you able to get food there?
No. We just stayed overnight, I think. No, there was no food. No.
Who were the other prisoners?
We were just in the cell, just us. It was me, my parents, my grandparents.
Who were the guards? What nationality were the guards at that point?
I think they were French. The French. They were armed and stuff.
Did they talk to you? Did they say anything?
No, they didn't talk much.
So what happened after this arrest that you were overnight in the jail? What happened next?
Then they put my parents and my grandmother in prison. And from prison they sent them to concentration camps from different places in France.
Where were you when they were taken?
I was, somebody picked me up. Actually, Rebbe Shapiro had a younger brother, Avram Shapiro, and his mechutin. They were also together with us in Lujan, and somehow my mother got in touch with his mechutin. His name was Mrs. Gassenbauer, and he picked me up from the girls' school. How he got me out, I don't know. But he got
Rabbi Meir Shapiro's brother picked you up.
Avram Shapiro's mechutin.
So it wasn't Meir Shapiro's brother, it was his mechutin who took you.
Yeah, he was the mechutin of Meir Shapiro's brother, Avram. And his name was Gassenbauer. He picked me up and took me to his town. I don't know if it was Lushon. Maybe it was Lushon, yeah. He took me back to there. And then he couldn't hold me. He couldn't keep me there because we were met by a German patrol, and they had us registered. I remember walking with them, to the police station. So there were three soldiers, and they had a German sense of humor. So one of them said, "Shoot them," and the other guy said, "No, you can't do that. You got to get permission." So the third one didn't say anything. So he just took it to the police station, registered us, and let us go. So after that, Mr. Gassenbauer saw that I couldn't stay with them, and he gave me over to somebody in the underground, committee or something, and they tried to place me in different places till I wound up with a French family.
What was the problem in placing you?
Well, one problem was I was Jewish. Another problem was I didn't have any papers. I was Hefke. So this family took me in, and
Who were they?
their name was Bailak. And
Were they Jewish?
no. What happened is that this girl from a Jewish family on the committee was in the Girl Scouts and the Boys and the Cub Scouts. She was a leader in the Cub Scouts, and her friend was also in the Cub Scouts. So she asked her if she knows of anybody who I could stay with. So she said she'll try, and she picked me up and asked her mother if I could stay with them, and the mother said okay, and I wound up staying there for 2 years, till after the war. My mother picked me up then.
You were in a place between the jail and that family.
Yeah.
Where was this?
This was and so I went from one town to another on the train.
You were in a school.
This was after the school.
Oh. But where was the school?
The school was in St. Gaudens. But after that, he took me back to Luchon, and he handed me over to the committee, and the people from the committee just took me from one place to another, one town to another.
What kind of school was this that you were in? Where you slept?
After prison? It was a Catholic school. And they probably wanted to schmud me.
How long were you there?
Maybe a week or two.
Were you aware of where your parents were?
Yeah, and I went to see them in prison. They took me to visit in prison.
Were you aware after that where they had been taken?
No.
In this time, were you able to keep any of the halachas, any Jewish rituals?
No.
Did you go to school?
I went to public school. When I was with the family, I went to regular school. I forgot everything.
How long were you with this family?
About 2 years.
In that time, did they talk to you? Did they explain what was going on with the war?
Yeah, I knew what was going on, but
Did they realize you were Jewish?
yeah, definitely.
Were they threatened at all because you were in their home?
They weren't. No, they kept quiet, and
Did neighbors know who you were?
no, I don't think so. They just figured I was one of the family. It's all Nissim, but nobody snitched or anything. Some knew. I'm sure some of them knew.
Did the people go to church?
Yeah.
Did they take you?
Sure. They weren't so frum, but occasionally, yeah.
How did you feel holiday time with their holidays?
They They gave me presents and everything.
Was this a farm area or a town? What was this where you were
In
with the
Toulouse,
family?
in Toulouse. It's a big city.
Did you ever keep a journal or a diary?
No.
Did you ever have any illegal documents? Were they all legal?
No, everything was illegal. I had to have, well, the one who was in the voice in the Cub Scouts, she was in the underground, and she had friends, so they manufactured papers for me to cover up. But I was still under my name. My name sounded French, so.
When did the war end for you?
In 45, 44, end of 44, I think. Was it 45, was it?
Where were you at that point?
My mother came to pick me up. And it was 40, I think it was 45. 45? No. Maybe it's 44. End of 44.
What camp was she in at that point when she was released?
They went, it was my mother and my grandmother. They were in different camps. From the prison, they sent them to, I have a list here. I think it was Noé, then Goose, and then they went to Duadik, and somehow they got papers to get out, and they were hidden in a little town in Le Puy, in the mountains, someplace, and they stayed there.
Who liberated you?
I think it was I think I was in the country at the time. They used to send me on whenever there was a threat. They sent me to the country at the cousins in was a camp, summer camp or something. I think it was D-Day at the time. I think it was the Americans.
When did you feel free?
When my mother picked me up.
How did she find you?
She knew where I was through the underground.
When did you find out what had happened to your father?
When did I find out? I think I was still with the family when they weren't sure, but they knew that he was sent away. But we didn't find out till after the war. My mother had to did a lot of research.
When were you able to resume an Orthodox lifestyle?
After the war, when I rejoined my mother. Excuse me.
Once more.
No.
When did you first realize the magnitude of the Shoah?
When I came to the States. After my bar mitzvah.
Once your mother came, where did you settle? Where did you go?
I had uncles. Uncles in the Bronx.
Where were they?
In the Bronx.
But before that, while you were still in Europe, where did you live?
My mother and grandmother were in that little town. They were protected by the church in that little town. And
how did they help them? How did the church help them?
they used to alert the Jewish people At, whenever there was a raid, they used to alert them to stay away from the street.
Was this a
To stay
Catholic
indoors.
church or Protestant?
Catholic. It was a very frum Catholic town, and the people they protected the Jews.
What arrangements were made to come to America?
After the war, my uncles got papers to bring us over.
What was his name?
My uncles, Mantel, Traub, another cousin, lawyer, Traub. Somehow they got papers.
When did you leave Europe?
March 46,
How did you travel?
by boat.
What was the name of the ship?
Groupsalm. It took us 11 days on the ocean.
What do you remember about the trip?
I was sick. I was seasick.
Was there any kosher food there?
No. We ate hard-boiled eggs
And where did you settle when you came?
in the Bronx.
Where?
In the Bronx?
Remember the street?
Yes, near Simpson Street.
And how did your mother support you at that point?
My uncles supported us till my mother remarried.
Who did she marry?
So she married somebody by the name of Unger.
Were you able to continue your elementary school, high school?
Yeah.
Where did you go to school?
When I came here, I went to RJJ. No, first I went to Lubavitch. They tried to start the Lubavitcher school in the Bronx for about a month or two.
And then to RJJ?
Then I went to RJJ. Then I went to YU.
You went to YU?
Yeah.
And did you graduate from YU?
Yeah.
And when did you get married?
67.
How did you meet your wife?
My wife worked for the NCSY in New York.
So how did you come together?
That was, my mother knew somebody who knew somebody, something like that.
And your wife's name?
Rena
And her maiden name?
Carnum.
And where was she during the war?
My wife, she was in Boston. She was born in Boston.
Did she understand what had happened to you and the history?
Yeah. I got imported to Boston.
So you lived in Boston?
In Boston for 48 years. And I retired, came back to Flatbush.
What work did you do in Boston?
Accounting.
And were you able to provide a Jewish education for your children in Boston?
Sure.
Where did they go to school?
I went to the Cheder in Boston, Tower Academy.
When were you first able to tell what happened to you? When were you able to discuss your background?
Whenever they ask me,
Did people here ask you questions?
sometimes.
Did they listen?
Yeah, I suppose.
What did you tell your children?
I didn't tell them much, except whenever something came up, I told them.
Did your grandchildren ask you questions?
No, they don't know anything about it.
Has your religious life changed over the years?
A few times. Yeah, it's all missing. I could wound up in the Vatican. Who knows?
Did you ever question Hashem?
No.
How would you describe your Jewish life now?
Baruch Hashem.
Where do you daven now?
No, we wrote in the shul in the Tlatmist.
You have a regular shir?
Yeah.
Do you ever have any dreams or nightmares?
No.
Fears? Do you follow politics?
Sure.
What do you think?
I guess whatever happens is supposed to happen.
Did your background affect how you raised your children?
Yeah, of course.
How?
I try. I always try to keep them on the right path.
Is there a single memory when you think back that most disturbs you or haunts you?
It's hard to describe. I don't know. So it's all listen every step of the way is listen.
Is there anything that you think back that just bothers you very much?
Well, when I was separated from my parents, that was traumatic. But Baruch Hashem, we overcame.
Did you ever travel back to Vienna?
Vienna, no. I did go back to France to visit. In third, so I wouldn't go back to Europe if I can help it.
Were you ever able to give in the names of the people who helped rescue you or helped shelter you in that time to Yad Vashem?
Maybe I did write it up. I don't remember, but maybe it's possible I wrote it up. I don't know.
Did you have any concerns about giving in their names?
No, I tried to avoid giving the names because I didn't want them to be a target of anti-Semitism and stuff like that.
What gave you strength? You were a young child.
I don't think I don't know. I don't think it was a matter of strength. Just illness, and that's all.
What advice do you have for your family?
What advice? Just carry on, that's all.
Do you have a message now for the world? What would you like to tell people?
It's Mashiach's time. It's time. Sooner the better.
Thank you very much.
Oh, you're welcome.
So, could you tell us what this is?
Yeah, that's a siddur that my father gave me back in Antwerp when I started. When I started going to school, that's it, I guess. And he wrote my name, but he misspelled it. He added an extra vav, and he caught himself, but he didn't. And he didn't say anything. That's a picture of my father's parents.
Their names?
His name is Shmuel Shmelke, Francis, and Hanne Golde. Her name was Krochmal, Hanne Golde Krochmal. So my father went by his mother's name.
Where was the picture taken?
This was taken in Limburg.
Before the war.
Yeah.
What is this document?
That's passport from Poland to when she got out of, I don't know from where she got out of Poland.
And who's it in
And
the
that's a
pictures?
picture of my mother and one of her brothers.
His name?
His name was Shia Rothman.
Who is this?
That's a picture of me when I was about 3 years old, maybe,
Where was this taken?
in Vienna.
What is this?
That's a passport to get out of Vienna from my grandmother, my mother's mother.
You see it okay? Can you tell us about this?
Yes, that's the an exit visa passport of my grandmother, my mother's mother.
And we see the date is December 2nd,
December,
1938.
right,
So it's less than a month after Kristallnacht.
yeah.
We saw that.
That's the identity certificate for my father and my mother in Belgium.
And it identifies them as coming from Poland.
Yeah.
Can you tell us about the smaller one?
Yeah, it looks like a passport.
This was from Belgium.
It was from Belgium, from my mother.
And the stamps are tax? Some sort of fee?
Stamps for the passport. I don't know.
This is issued by Belgium. This also. Where are you in this picture?
That's a class picture of where I went to school in Nice. I'm on the bottom, on the right, bottom right.
All the way to the right?
All the way to the right, on the bottom one, sitting down.
What kind of school was this?
This was a public school.
Okay.
While I was hidden, I was in the Cub Scouts. That's a picture of me in the Cub Scouts.
And this was in France.
Yeah, in Toulouse.
Is it true?
This is a picture of me and Francois Baylac, who I stayed with when I was hidden in Toulouse.
Who's in this picture?
These are the parents of Francois Baylac. The names are Edmond and Leonie Baylac.
And what was their role?
They were the grandparents where I stayed. She took me in and hid me during the war. This is a picture I took in 1966 when I went to visit them in France. That's the picture of where I stayed. And left to right, it's Henriette, Francois, Bert, Leonie, and the three children are the children of Bert.
How was it to go back? What was your feeling?
It was very emotional.
How did they feel seeing you?
They liked it. They were very emotional at the time.
Are you in touch with any of the family now?
I was in touch with them till they passed away. I have a whole bunch of letters. There's the stack of letters. I kept corresponding with them till they passed away.
What is this?
That's an exit visa for my mother. We tried to leave in 1942, but we got we could get out, but the United States wouldn't take us in. And my mother kept a record of dates, a sequence when they were in prison and Camp Noé, Gurs, and Duadik.
Who's in this picture?
That's my wedding picture. It's me and my wife
Where was the wedding?
in Boston in 1967.
Who's this?
That's me and my wife. Taken a few years ago, I think.
Thank you.
Somebody's bar mitzvah, bas mitzvah.
Thank you.
That's a copy of a description that Bert wrote to me when they gave me a present. They gave me a book.
Who gave
And,
it to you?
Bert Pichon gave me this. She's the one that took me in, and she gave me a present, and she made this inscription.
What does it say?
It's not to forget my stay in Toulouse and be loyal and stuff like that.